Okay, let's get started creating a Pear deck. The first thing you need to do when you're creating a Pear deck is you can start with a presentation that you've already created by opening up a Google Slides presentation. If you've created most of your presentations using PowerPoint, you can always import the PowerPoints into Google Drive by saying import slides. And this will actually convert your PowerPoint slides into a Google Docs version. The next thing I need to do is open up my Pear Deck add-ons. So I'm going to choose add-ons and I'm going to choose Pear Deck for Google Slides and say open the Pear Deck add-on. What this does is it opens up the Pear Deck menu on the right-hand side of the screen. With the options in this menu are, this is what you would do when you're ready to start a lesson, and we'll talk about that towards the end. You can also add items, interactive items to any of your slides here, and you can also use a template library. In addition, you can do an audio recording to your slides. So let's say you wanted this to be a student-paced lesson where the students would just open the Pear Deck and create it on their own time. You might want to have audio directions on your slide, and that would come in handy if you use the audio to the slide. It basically just adds a recording. To add content, one thing you just want to remember is that we are using the free version of Pear Deck. So we technically only have the options to add the top 4 types of questions. However, I will show you a way around and show you how you could actually add a drawing or a draggable object question as well. So as an example, let's just say that my presentation, I want the students to translate this statement into Spanish or whichever language I teach. So I would want the students to be able to type text for their answer. So in order to have a text response added to this slide, I'm going to go over here and just add text. And what this was going to do is it kind of opens up this, this tells me I'm working, and it puts this little footer at the bottom of my slide. And I know now that this is an interactive question now where students will write their response. As the teacher, I don't really see how this is going to look for students until I actually go to present it. So we're just going to hold this thought right now. And then at the next question, we're going to type a number. So typing a text, if you want your input from your students to be text versus a number, there are 2 different options here. So I'm going to make this slide a type a number slide. The what you can also make slides a multiple choice question. If I wanted to do that, it gives me an option here. And it does ask you to indicate what the choices the students would have are, and then you'll have the option to choose the correct answer. In addition, you can use this website, which what that will do is it'll actually take students and play the website from within the slide. Now, the drawing questions where students would draw on the screen or drag objects on the screen, these are for premium users only, but there is a way to get around this. So let's say I wanted to have a slide like this where the students would actually draw a picture of their favorite food. Okay, I can't really add this to the slide because if I choose a drawing, it actually is going to, when Pear Deck opens, it's going to ask me to upgrade to premium. But I can get around this by using the template library. So if I click on this icon to add templates, there's all different templates that you can add in here. So first of all, these are going to be like task templates. So we're going to look at these first. But if you want to explore later, you can actually look for templates by subject area or by the type of skill that you want the students to use. So let's say that I'm a social studies teacher. There's a ton of templates that are already done in here for social studies, and you can just quickly add these to your slides. In fact, if I added this template, it actually will add not only the content from the slide, but it's also going to make it a draggable object slide so that I can replace objects on the screen. But let's go back up to the other parts of the templates that are usually what I like to do is, I'm just gonna go back from social studies, is I like to use the section up here is the during the lesson templates. So these templates give you the same options as before. So you can add a text slide, multiple choice slides easily. I can also add draggable object slides or drawing slides. So let's say I wanted to add a drawing slide. I'm just going to click on it, and it's going to add this slide to my presentation. And students will be able to draw on the slide. So I can still now delete the objects that are on this particular slide if I don't want them. And I could say, let's get rid of everything here. You don't want to go too crazy and do select all, because if you do that, it will actually delete the Pear Deck question part of your slide as well. But I'm just going to say, draw a picture of your favorite food. So now when students get to this slide, they'll be able to they will be able to draw on the slide. This same thing works if I was going to use a draggable slide as well, if I add one of those into my presentation. Just give it a second to show up. The students will be able to drag these items up into, how are you feeling today? Okay, so everything is auto saving, so I don't really need to save anything here. But now that I've created and added some interactive questions, it's time for me to start my lesson. And you can do this by clicking up here on your start lesson. Now, most of the time you'll probably do an instructor-paced lesson. So I will choose an instructor-paced lesson. The students do need to join your Pear Deck. And it'll give the information in just a second when it launches. So I can have the students join a couple of different ways. First of all, they could go to this website, joinpd.com, and type in the code. The other thing that you can do is you can give students a link. So this link is copied to the dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up another browser, and I'm just going to go to this site so you can see what it looks like from the student login view. And we're going to join as Luke today. Poor Luke. He's a very good sport about being my sample student guinea pig. I'll just say, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling great. Okay, so the presentation is about to load. So this is what it looks like from the student perspective. I made this a number slide, even though there's no number on it, so I'll just type in a number. Okay, now the student is only going to be able to see the slide that I, as the teacher, am currently presenting. So I'm going to say start the class, and here's my first slide. Okay, and I did get a response here, so just as we're aware, I can actually, now the one thing that you don't get from, one thing that you are not going to see is the teacher dashboard. So you'll be able to see all the student responses in a spreadsheet, but you can see your student responses here as well. The student responses do show up as anonymous, so that if you want to show the responses to the class, that way they won't actually see who said what. You can also use a grid layout here, and each of the student responses would be listed as its own little screen on your window. So it really just depends what kind of view that you like. I personally prefer the grid view. You have the option of locking student screens at any time during the presentation, and you can also add new prompts on the fly if you need to. So you can choose a prompt and just add this quickly to your presentation at any time. All right, so we're going to go to the next slide, and it says locate a Spanish-speaking country. So let's look at this from the student perspective. So from the student perspective, they have to locate. Now this, normally I would make this a draggable screen, but I didn't obviously with this one. So let's go back to the slides I actually edited. Okay, here's the one that we added a text box for them to translate. So let's take a look at the student screen, see how they get a text box here. And I'm just going to put no comprendo because I really don't know, but students do have the option of adding more if they maybe hit enter by accident or they typed something incorrectly. They can't really delete, they can edit their responses as well and kind of delete what they had, but they can submit more than one response as well. And then let's look at from the teacher view, we're just going to go back to maybe the drawing. So on this particular slide, we said draw a picture of your favorite food. So as a student now, I get drawing tools. So I could draw a piece of pizza maybe, if that's my favorite food. And let's see, I'm not super artistic, but put some cheese on there and maybe some pepperoni pieces. I don't know if this looks like a piece of pizza. I'm sure your students would do a much better drawing than me, but it is kind of, you know, just showing you the tools that the students do have available to them if you give a drawing question. And let's see if I have any other questions in my presentation. Okay, so drag how you're feeling. So what the student is going to see is they are now able to drag these dots to what they're feeling. So if I dragged it here, then it would say, I'm giving feedback to the teacher that says, keep going, I understand what's happening. But if not, if I don't understand, I can drag my dot over here. You can't really drag the objects on the screen. Pear Deck only allows you to drag these dots, and you can click the dots right from the bottom to drag them up here. So now from the teacher perspective, let's go back to my teacher view. If I say show responses, it is going to, and I show the grid layout, it shows me each student, and then it also shows me what they responded. Now, if you require your students to log in, and that's an option when you do a presentation, you will see the name of each student here as well. I mean, you won't see the name of the student here because, again, we're making it private, but at the end, you'll be able to, actually, let's go back to hide responses for a moment. You'll be able to see the responses downloaded into a spreadsheet. So let's say it's time for me to end the slideshow. First of all, let's just take a look at this menu here, just so we know. So you can make this full screen. You can name your session here if mine's currently an unnamed session, but I can name it. And it's actually a nice idea to name your sessions because otherwise, if you don't name your session, when you see it in the list, you might not be sure of what it is. So this is going to be my test Pear Deck. And I'll just say save the session name. Okay, so just one other thing, I can end the session here. I can also at any time switch this into a student-paced presentation. So let's say I'm presenting in class and I don't get to everything and I want the students to finish the questions for homework. I can just change this on the fly to student-paced, and then they'll have access to finish it up at, on their own time. When it's time to end my presentation, I'm going to go ahead and hit end, and I'm going to say end sessions and publish takeaways. And this brings me right back to my original Pear Deck presentation. And if you notice, it did actually close my Pear Deck menu here. So I'm just going to relaunch it because I want to show you how you can get a printout of the responses. So I'm going to say open Pear Deck add-on. Okay, so this is where I had started my lesson, but right next to it, there's 3 dots here. And here's, you can click right here to say review your session. Now, this is where you're gonna get this extend your trial period. I'm just gonna say not right now. And this shows me all the Pear Decks that I've done. Currently, this one is closed. This was the one that we just did as a teacher-led presentation. This is a student-paced presentation that I have currently open. It's been open for a couple days because students might be working on this on their own pace. Now, couple of things. Number one, you're not going to be able to see the official dashboard of Pear Deck with the free version, but if you click on the 3 dots next to your presentation, one of the things that you can do is you can export to a spreadsheet. This will take all of your student responses, just say not right now. Every time that pops up, just say not right now. But this is going to create the spreadsheet document with my student responses in there. And it also gives the student name and who completed it as well. So you can still get the results of the questions that you asked during the Pear Deck. Now, the one that I have as student-paced that's still open, I don't have the option to see the student responses until I end the session. So one thing I can do is I can turn this off and turn it into an instructor-led presentation on the fly. So it goes vice versa, back and forth. If I end the session, then I will get the option to export to a spreadsheet. So I hope this gave you a good overview of how to use Pear Deck. Please reach out should you have any questions, or if you want me to be there the first time you run through an activity with your class, I'm happy to do that as well.